National and religious leaders have been congratulating the newly anointed Pope Leo XIV. The pontiff is the first North American to head up the Catholic Church. He used his first Mass to call for Christian faith to be a beacon for communities worldwide to counter the lure of technology, money, success, and power.
The morning after he was elected Pope, Leo XIV began his inaugural Mass in the Vatican's Sistine Chapel in his native language.
I'll begin with a word in English, and the rest is in Italian. But I want to repeat the words from the responsorial psalm. I will sing a new song to the Lord because he has done marvels. And indeed, not just with me, but with all of us, my brother cardinals.
Robert Prevost is the first American-born pope. His childhood home is here in Dalton, Illinois, where he became an altar boy and later a priest. Students at his old school are proud of their new role model.
So Pope Leo is a alum of Catholic Theological Union, which I am currently a student about to graduate, and he had obtained the same degree, Master's in Divinity, that I'm going to be obtaining in 2 weeks. So I think that's a pretty good moment for me. I share some similarities with the Pope.
Peru is where Prevost spent most of his career as a missionary, and they also claim him as their own. Here in Callao, he is fondly remembered for his work with poorer communities.
As a representative of the Church, he was very concerned about people who were forgotten, who lived on the peripheries. He was very concerned about that.
Immortalized on the wall, Prevost's close relationship with Pope Francis. Francis gave Prevost one of the most important jobs in the Vatican, overseeing the selection of bishops in Latin America. Prevost became archbishop and then a cardinal in 2023.
Kind of a humbling experience.
Leo XIV is viewed as a Catholic moderate. Like Pope Francis, he is very concerned about migrants, marginalized groups, and the environment, and he supported Francis in welcoming women into the high ranks of bishops. His views on LGBT issues are not widely known. It is hoped that the new pope will unite conservative and progressive factions in the Catholic Church at a time of growing dissent.
Our correspondent Julia Saldelli is following events for us in the Vatican. She gave us an idea of what she's been hearing.
So all the people taking part in the conclave have been sworn to secrecy, so we can't really expect any very spicy details to emerge, for example, who voted for whom or things like that. But we've already heard from a few cardinals who have given press conferences, who have given a glimpse of what has happened behind the scenes. One of them is a fellow U.S. American, Cardinal Tobin, who at a press conference today said, calling the new Pope with his nickname Bob, he said that once the now Pope Leo accepted his papacy, Cardinal Tobin felt that he was exactly the right man for the job. So definitely a sense that there was quite a broad consensus behind the election of Pope Leo. And we've also heard from Cardinal Reinhard Marx. He is one of the German cardinals who also in a press conference today said that this broad consensus was probably brought forward for him, but also for a wide group of cardinals by the fact that the now Pope has quite a broad experience and quite a rich CV. He comes from the United States but has worked in Peru and Latin America for many, many years. He became a citizen of Peru, and he also worked for the last 2 years in the government of the church here in Rome, in the office that decides who to appoint as bishop. So this broad experience has made him well known to many cardinals and also quite popular, as it appears.
That was our correspondent, Julia Saldelli, there, reporting from the Vatican. Well, I'm joined now by Monsignor Andrzej Czeszewski. He's the parish priest of St. Katharina in Dinklage, Germany. He's also a former Vatican official. Monsignor, it's good to have you on the program. I understand, if I got the information right here, that you spent 13 years working in the Vatican, where you also closely worked with Pope Leo when he was Cardinal Robert Prevost. And I understand he was actually your direct superior. What can you tell us about him, and what was he like to work for?
Yes. Well, good evening from Dinklage to you. Thank you for the invitation. Well, I worked with the former Cardinal Prevost for 1.5 years until I then went back to Germany to become a parish priest. And well, he is a very focused, very friendly, very attentive superior, I would say, with a good sense of humor. So in the right moments, he really can, you say, bark out for laughter. So a very sympathetic and very good superior.
You, I'm sure, are aware that there were people who were hoping the next pope would come from a geographical region where the Catholic Church is growing, such as Asia or Africa, but obviously the conclave chose an American with strong ties to South America. In your opinion, does that make him the right man for this position right now?
I think so. I think the cardinals made a very good choice. He is the right man for this moment because he has such a bright horizon. So as we heard in your program previously, he is very, very experienced on various levels. So he is not really an American pope, but he is in the true sense a Catholic pope, because universal, as his portfolio shows us from what he has done, the positions he had. So I think he has really a very, very bright horizon that will help him a lot to serve the church and to serve.
The Pope's brother was interviewed yesterday, and he said that based on how he knows his brother, who he calls Bob, he said that he will definitely be a continuation of what we saw with Pope Francis. Would you agree with that, or how do you expect his papacy to be different from the late Pope Francis?
Well, am I still on the program? There was a problem, I think, with the internet. I don't know. But
You're still with me.
Well, of course, he will not be. Okay, he is not a copy of Pope Francis, of course, and he shouldn't be. Every pope is, in first part, the successor of Peter. So, but I think he made this very clear on the loggia at St. Peter's Basilica when he referred to the last blessing, Urbi et Orbi, of Pope Francis. And he said, well, I now can continue with my first blessing. And so I think there is a very, very strong bond between these both popes. And in some way he will follow the road of Pope Francis. But well, we will see. It's too early to see this, obviously.
When the Pope was,
but I think there is a continuity.
When he was still a cardinal, we know that he did not shy away from criticizing the current U.S. president and the Trump administration. Do you get any sense that the cardinals in the conclave, did they see Robert Prevost as something of a moral counterweight to the current politics of Donald Trump and his vice president and those around him?
Well, it could be one aspect of what the cardinals led in their election. But I think it is too much to say that this was the decisive element. When he spoke his first word was "Peace be with you," and this on the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. I think this is a very, very powerful message to the whole world, not only to America, to Russia, to many other people who maybe are not very much known as peaceful people, but really to every one of us. And I think he spoke to our hearts, and he led us immediately to the center, because this was the greeting of the risen Lord. So I think he will be a Pope of peace, a Pope who will lead us to the center of faith. And I think this will be, a great opportunity for all of us, not only for the Catholics or the Christians, but for the whole world.
Monsignor Andrzej Ciszewski, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us on what has been a historic, a very eventful week for you and for the Catholic Church. Thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you.